What are 10 items a minimalist would never buy? Today we're going to be talking exactly about what are some items a minimalist would never purchase. Now of course everyone's situation is different, their lifestyle, what they get value from, and so this might have some variance from person to person, but as a general rule, I believe that these are 10 things minimalists simply choose not to purchase. So let's go ahead and get started with the first one, which is souvenirs. And it is hard to travel pretty much anywhere without being bombarded by a massive number of souvenir shops, of little trinket stores, and oftentimes the souvenirs being sold are tacky knickknacks and simply just unuseful items. And so minimalists often, in their desire to live more intentionally and only bringing things into their life that they're going to use and that bring them value, tend to steer clear of souvenirs, knowing that in the long run, while it might be something fun to look at, oftentimes that item is just going to collect dust and is never actually going to add true value. The real value, the real souvenirs that you should take home from a trip or a vacation are the memories that you create and the pictures that you take. The next item that minimalists tend to avoid is physical media. And this can include video games, DVDs, CDs, any kind of physical form of entertainment, if you will. And the simple reason for this is because minimalists appreciate having simplicity in the space around them, and especially when there's a simple alternative of just buying the digital version of something. Most minimalists are going to take the opportunity to reduce the clutter in their space by simply choosing to consume that digital version instead. It allows them to get the full enjoyment of that item without having to add one extra thing to their space. The third item minimalists never buy is single-use gadgets. And when I think of this category, I think of the as seen on TV items, those things that promise to make perfectly circular pancakes. Or this might look like a strawberry huller, an avocado slicer, a pair of pizza cutting scissors. There are so many single-use gadgets available for purchase, but on the whole, minimalists are going to value most of the items that they can use for multiple purposes. A really versatile kitchen knife, a pair of multi-use scissors that can be used for almost anything. Those items that are going to be the most versatile are the ones that minimalists want to keep in their lives. And in their desire to live more intentionally, minimalists are going to almost entirely avoid single-use kitchen gadgets that can be used for one purpose and one purpose only. The fourth thing that minimalists never buy is buying things simply to add them to a collection. Once again, going back to the idea that minimalists have the desire to only own things that they use and that they love, collections are things that are very rarely, if ever, used. Things like stamps, baseball cards, coins, there are so many different things that people collect. Sometimes it's very niche and random things like Beanie Babies or Barbies, but whatever it is, minimalists can understand that collections really don't have a useful and functional purpose, so they're going to avoid buying things that fall into just the category of I'll buy this to add it to my collection. The fifth item that minimalists never buy is duplicates. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that minimalists don't buy multiple rolls of toilet paper because that would be ridiculous, but when it comes to larger categories and things that are going to last for a longer time, minimalists do like to avoid duplicates. So for example, a minimalist isn't likely to have two identical kitchen tools, so they're not going to have two potato peelers. Or they're not likely to have two nearly identical pairs of shoes because that's simply unnecessary. And I think partially because minimalists tend to be more conscious of the things that they actually own, it's a lot easier for them to intentionally not bring any duplicates into their life because they're more aware of what they already have and what they need. Okay, number 6 is storage containers, and this one almost goes without saying, but as minimalists, if we are reducing the amount of things in our lives and have a fairly simple number of possessions, we're not going to go out and buy storage containers to contain more stuff than we already have. If perhaps we notice the amount of things in our life growing, that probably is going to incentivize us to declutter rather than to go out and buy another storage container. And this is quite contrary to the popular American tradition of literally buying a larger house to fit all of your stuff. So storage containers and storage solutions are simply something that minimalists tend to avoid because they don't really need tons and tons of storage. Next up, the 7th thing that a minimalist would never buy is Black Friday deals. And Black Friday deals and other annual white sales that stores put on throughout the year are really designed to create an artificial need in the minds of consumers. Oftentimes, the items being offered at huge discounts on Black Friday sales are going to be made more cheaply. They're not going to be as good quality as the things that you would normally buy if you actually needed something. So not only are those items coming out of Black Friday Friday deals tending to be lesser quality, but oftentimes the retailers putting on those Black Friday sales are going to be what we call fast fashion retailers, meaning that they're not paying their workers living wages. They're also not really considering the ecological impact of what they are selling. And on the whole, that's something that minimalists as a group of people tend to be more mindful of. They often like supporting secondhand stores and ethical manufacturers. So not only do Black Friday sales go against the minimalist desires for quality, but also it's often not going to be supporting their values. And so Black Friday deals are something that most minimalists are generally going to avoid. Moving on, the 8th item that minimalists never buy is trendy clothing. And minimalists understand that trends come and go, oftentimes within the course of a single season. With that extremely rapid turnover, minimalists know that if they were to invest in trendy clothing, that they wouldn't wear it long term, that it would simply be adding an extra item to their wardrobe that they'd have to declutter in less than a season, and that goes exactly against the desires and the values of minimalism, which favors quality over quantity, and really style over fashion. If you think about it, the whirlwind fashion trends that we experience really do go exactly against the grain of what minimalists stand for. And so minimalists, when they do buy clothing, are instead often going to opt for things that are going to be higher quality, more timeless styles, or at the very least true to their own personal style. 2 more left. Number 9 is square footage. And I talked about this earlier, but it's absolutely a trend that Americans nowadays are often choosing to upsize their homes because they've ran out of space to contain the amount of things that they already own. Now, as a minimalist, we can understand that having a comfortable size house is great, but beyond a certain point, we don't need more square footage. We might not have enough things to fill out that square footage, and we definitely don't have a desire to clean more house than we need to. So while as minimalists, we might decide to get a nice, comfortably sized house, simply buying extra square footage for the sake of storing things or having bragging rights is simply not going to fit in with the desires of intentionality, of value, of purpose that we see so often in minimalism. And finally, the last one, number 10, is decor for every season. And this is absolutely something that you see all the time whenever you walk into really any kind of store, whether that's Target, Walmart, a craft store. As the seasons change, stores tend to shift the decor that they're selling to fit that season. And I do personally know so many people who will decorate their space every single season to fit the coming season. For me personally, at least, I try to avoid buying anything that's going to be specific only to a single season. And if I do want to make my house feel a little bit more fresh or seasonal, what I'll do is I'll just go out and buy some flowers or something like that. Because seasonal decorations are often unnecessary, they take up space, and honestly, nobody's gonna care if you have them or not. It's a category of purchases that minimalists try to avoid on the whole. Well, there you guys have it. Those are 10 items that a minimalist would never buy. And like I mentioned before, this isn't necessarily meant to be a universal list that you're not a minimalist if you've bought one of these things before, but simply more as a general rule, these are items that minimalists do tend to avoid, and with good reason too. I hope that you guys enjoyed this list though, and if you have another item that you think a minimalist would never buy, or maybe that you've stopped buying since you became a minimalist, let me know what that item is in the comments below. I would love to hear about it. And also, if you guys enjoyed today's video but have not subscribed already, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I make videos weekly on this channel about minimalism and intentional living, and I would love to have you join me. That's everything I have for you today though, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.